Why do some couples decide to keep their love lives entirely off social media? Are they hiding something, or have they figured out some secret to emotional security that the rest of the internet is completely missing out on? Now, I'm sure a lot of you have noticed this. It's the paradox of the quiet, happy couple. Just think about it for a second. The couples who constantly flood our feeds with perfectly filtered photos, those mushy captions, and the endless anniversary countdowns, they aren't always the ones who actually go the distance. But then you have these incredibly resilient, rock-solid bonds that seem to exist literally entirely offline. No matching profile pics, 0 daily selfies. It's almost like they purposefully don't want the internet to know they're a thing. Which brings us to a massive societal assumption we all kind of default to, the myth that more posts equals a happier couple. But psychology tells us that keeping a relationship private is rarely about secrecy. Actually, it's a huge indicator of emotional maturity and security. So throughout this explainer, we're going to systematically take this myth apart. We're doing a psychological deep dive into exactly what these offline couples have figured out when it comes to valuing a real, genuine connection over public attention.
All right, reason number 1, internal over external validation.
Let's break this down. With external validation, every time someone posts a cute relationship photo, they get that instant hit of likes, comments, and people hyping them up. And honestly, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But for some people, their happiness just doesn't rely on getting a thumbs up from strangers or people they barely talk to. On the flip side, folks with a really strong sense of self-worth rely heavily on internal validation. Their relationship feels incredibly meaningful because of the actual lived connection they share, right there in the room, not because 500 people tapped a little heart emoji. It basically boils down to this really simple shift in mindset. Instead of asking, what will everyone think? They ask, are we happy together? And for emotionally mature people, the answer to that internal question is all they need. It's literally more than enough to sustain them. They just don't need a digital chorus of applause to confirm that their love is the real deal. Moving on to reason 2, protecting the private bubble. You know how it goes. The more people know about your personal life, the more opinions they magically seem to have, right? Friends, relatives, random acquaintances. Suddenly, everyone's commenting, comparing, and making totally wild assumptions about a dynamic they honestly know very little about. So, establishing healthy boundaries is basically about building a safe, completely private space. Think of it like a protective lock on the relationship door. It keeps it totally secure from the noisy, crowded, super opinionated online world, so love can just grow naturally, entirely free from all that unnecessary outside pressure. And there is a profoundly powerful psychological takeaway here. Not every beautiful moment needs an audience. Think about that. Some memories actually become exponentially more valuable exactly because they are an exclusive secret between two people. When you don't broadcast a special moment to the world, it stays yours and yours alone. It builds this incredible, intimate, shared history that belongs exclusively to the relationship. Which brings us to reason 3, living versus documenting. So social media is literally designed to capture highlight reels, but there is a massive difference between documenting a moment and actually experiencing it. We've all been there. You're having a great time, but you stop everything to make sure the lighting is perfect, you find the right angle, you agonize over the caption. It kind of ruins the vibe, right? It interrupts the actual authenticity of the experience. Offline couples consciously choose to separate real life from that curated feed. They want to fully live and deeply feel the emotions of the present, rather than hitting pause on reality just to capture proof of it. Because at the end of the day, what actually builds a relationship happens in the quiet, completely unpostable spaces. We're talking ordinary conversations, quiet evenings just chilling on the couch, shared struggles that nobody else ever sees, that everyday mundane support. These totally unglamorous moments are the true bedrock of love. People who hold back from posting usually just prefer to soak in those moments, completely aware that the best parts of a relationship don't lose a single ounce of value just because they didn't get uploaded to a cloud somewhere.
All right, reason number 4, secure relationships don't need performance.
You can think of it as a pretty simple equation. Trust plus communication plus connection is vastly greater than public proof. We all kind of fall into this trap of thinking that public proof is the ultimate measure of how strong a couple is. But when two people feel 100% safe with each other, when they've really built that solid foundation of trust and emotional connection, the urge to perform or convince the outside world that they're happy just completely evaporates. They don't have to prove anything to anyone because they've already proven it to each other.
And that leads us right to our 5th and maybe most powerful reason: Privacy is a form of power. Once you put something online, it instantly becomes open season for judgment and comparison. Private people recognize that keeping the things they cherish completely offline is how you maintain healthy boundaries. It's a really bold, powerful choice to look at a beautiful relationship and say, hey, this is ours, and it is way too valuable to put on trial in the court of public opinion.
Now, before we wrap things up, we really need to pivot to the intention behind posting. We need a quick reality check here because nuance is super important. First off, posting your partner is not inherently bad or fake. There are tons of incredibly happy, totally secure couples who genuinely just love sharing their lives online. Second, silence doesn't automatically guarantee a relationship is healthy either. And third, there is no single right way to use social media. Every couple has their own totally unique digital vibe. The whole goal of this explainer isn't to judge people who post, not at all. It's just to unpack the really fascinating psychology of the people who choose not to. So the real question psychology wants us to ask isn't whether you post, it's why you post. Are you sharing a genuine moment simply because it brings you joy? Or if we're being completely honest with ourselves, are we doing it because we're looking for approval, reassurance, or some kind of validation from our followers? Shifting our focus to the core intention completely changes everything about how we interact with our screens. To wrap up our core thesis for today, the absolute strongest bonds are built completely away from the screen. True connection is deeply rooted in mutual trust, immense respect, raw communication, and all those tiny, everyday moments. It never, ever relies on how many people know about it on the internet. I want to leave you with one final, kind of provocative thought. If social media just completely disappeared tomorrow, would your relationships still feel just as strong? Take a minute to really sit with that. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts and your own experiences down in the comments. Are you the private type? Or is sharing a fun part of how you connect? Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer.